Hello and welcome to the second season of TLJT Talks. Today, in this first episode of the second season, we have Dr. Gaurav Gupta. Dr. Gupta is an additional director at Ministry of Electronics and IT. It would be key to note that he's the first Indian to earn a doctorate in the field of digital forensics. He's a published author with his best-selling book Cyber Unsafe. So today, Dr. Gupta will be speaking to us how to maintain our security and safety in the cyber world, and we are naming this talk as Cyber Safe. So before we start this talk, I'd like to especially thank my teammates who have prepared all this questionnaire and everything in the span of less than 36 hours, because I reached out to you the day before yesterday, only in the night, and today we are here recording. So a special thanks to them, and once again, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you. I'm glad that we're having discussion now about how to avoid cyber crimes.
So as we start, first of all, I'd like you to tell our viewers what cyber world really is and how are crimes occurring in this cyber world different from the crimes that occur in the real world or real society.
Yeah. So since last many years, when computer and computing technologies and digital technologies started to become our most important tool for carrying out anything which we do. So starting from your listening to music to ordering food to booking a railway ticket, most of the activity which we do over in daily life are dependent on digital technology. And on top of it, we are having extremely fast internet, 4G connectivities, broadband connectivities, and we have smartphones with apps. So what happens is invariably we are extremely dependent on digital technology, and criminals know about it. So they know that when you're using these technologies, they look like they are anonymous and virtual and nobody's around you, but using these technologies, a lot of data can be extracted by criminals, which means compared to physical world crimes, where somebody has to come and do crime and he has to be physically present to do the crime, he has to be strong to do the crime. Today, computer frauds and cyber crimes can happen virtually, anonymously, and you don't have to be physically present at the place. And this anonymity encourages many people to do computer frauds and cyber crimes. And it's very, very easy. It is like low risk, high gain method, because you only need a laptop, a phone, and an internet connection to do fraud. You don't require a lot many other things which you required in the physical world once upon a time.
Right. So, sir, as you said, the criminals are using technology and not using physical power like in the real world. So do you think that are the criminals smarter than our monitoring system in a way?
So what happens is, see, any technology has both uses and misuses, right? So I can use kitchen knife for killing somebody, right? It does not mean that I should not have a kitchen knife. Similarly, when technology is there, when we are dependent on technology and when we are carrying out all the activities using technology, people will find ways and means to misuse it. For example, if you post a photograph on a social media for your friends to know about your life and what's happening with you, but then at times you leak information in terms of your location, because when your photograph is there, it contains GPS location by default. So because of geotagging, and it also reveals about what kind of camera you are using to carry out taking this photograph. So these are leaking information about you. So what happens is technology always provides opportunities for criminals also, and it happens mostly with those people who are not aware. So if, as a technology user, if I'm not being careful, if I'm not aware, I'm giving opportunity for criminals to do fraud. So it's not that technology is only for fraudster or criminals are more smarter. It is there that they're using their knowledge and their smartness more carefully than the users who are just using technology and not applying their smartness in awareness.
So is cybercrime getting more and more planned these days? Like you said in the first answer that you know people who are physically powerful just go on and commit crimes in the physical world. But in the cyber world, actually a planning is needed, some application of mind is needed, and some amount of intelligence is needed. One has to make sure that he's not tracked down, or there's no way that he could be reached out to. So is it like?
Yeah. So what happens is, see, in both physical and conventional crimes as well as in cyber crimes, you need some kind of planning. But there are so many users who are using technology. So if I am a criminal, if I develop a technique and if I use it against one user and it works, I will repeatedly use it and refine it. So what happens is criminals know that, by mastering a small process of, either getting into a mobile phone or how to clone your credit card or something like that. So they master a process. They understand how human psychology works. They will figure out flaws in the technologies, and they make a system. So they have a well-oiled, well-planned, is standard operating procedure for carrying out a particular type of fraud, which they keep on using against various people one by one after other, because we have huge number of population who is using technology. So it looks like they have a well executed plan, but ideally mostly the people who are aware can easily safeguard against these crimes. Only if you are not aware, if you're not applying your mind, if you're not finding out red flags in that conversation when criminal is trying to do a fraud, you fall for the crime. Otherwise, it's very easy to avoid these crimes.
Right. So, like you said that they have more understanding of psychology, or in crime, in criminal law, we are basically taught that mental element is involved, right? So my direct question is: are the criminals becoming more proficient, or more proficient in understanding psychology, or are they victims of psychological disorder themselves? Like, why would someone commit crime, and how does it help them by seeing others in a matter of a state of grief or something?
See, criminals are exploiting our emotions. They exploit our trust, they exploit our greed, they exploit fear of missing out. And that has been true for conventional crimes also. In olden days also, people used to write letters, people used to do all sort of things using creativity. Only thing is, speed was slow, because you have to reach out physically to people, right? Today, with the click of mouse, you can reach to millions of people. So nothing has changed other than the medium, which is digital technology. Now it's very easy and very fast to reach out to large number of people in a very short span of time, but the basic emotions of humans are being still exploited. Now criminals, once they do fraud and they know that how they are getting successful by exploiting emotions, they continue to develop newer and newer techniques, better and better stories to appeal to your emotions, so that you do mistakes. So they force you, they play with your mind, they play with your psychology to make sure that you do a particular set of actions for by which they will get benefited. So yeah, they know their psychology well, they understand how human mind works, and they plan their attacks and they plan their frauds keeping in mind the psychology of human beings, and they apply a lot of creativity on top of it.
So you spoke about emotions. So can you elaborate it a bit? Like, how do they attack emotions, or how
So
is
emotions, like, humans trust each other, right? We trust that, if I get a call and somebody tells me that he's calling from a bank, I tend to trust, right? If somebody tells me, okay, tomorrow is the last day to pay your bill, and he will say that I'm calling from the service provider company whose telecom services I'm using, I tend to believe, because I don't have any reasons not to believe that. How does he know that it's tomorrow is the last date and what is my bill amount? But if he knows these two information, I will straight away trust that he's calling from the company who is providing me the service. Whereas he might be a fraudster who has just got this information from somewhere, and now he's trying to do fraud against me. So problem with human beings is that we are too trustworthy in nature. We want to believe people, and these emotions of trust, greed, and fear of missing out, disruption, whenever a big disruption like demonetization happened, like FASTag became mandatory to pass through the toll bridge. Whenever these kind of disruptions happen, criminals again know that people will wait for the last day to take their actions, to buy their FASTags and to use the wallets. And that's where they know that they can plan spurious and phishing websites which people will fall for. So they know how we think. They know humans delay things till the last moment, and in the last moment, because of panic, because of the panic emotion, because of the push from these people that tomorrow is the last day to do this, these kind of frauds happen. So whenever there is an income tax filing last date, you will have phishing websites for income tax filing. Whenever you have last date for something else, accordingly criminals develop their stories and plan their attacks.
right? So if we are this much exposed to cybercrime, so how do we know that right now I'm talking to you and someone is not watching us? Like, how safe we are while using any device, or while accessing any platform, or like you said, filing
So
tax
yeah,
returns on
so
us. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is no need to be finicky, but what I'm saying is technology can always be misused against us. For example, if I have a phone, somebody can use a zero-day attack and can activate my microphone and let's say camera. That's a real threat, right? But there are easy ways, like there is a shutter-based phone cover which comes, so I can put a physical shutter on top of it, like we put it on the webcam of the laptop these days, right? There are devices which you can plug in into the audio jack of your phone so that your microphone stops working until that is taken out. So ideally, if I'm at a sensitive location and if I'm finicky about my privacy and security, I should create a lot of noise protecting my private information. I should put shutter on the cameras, physical shutter, which cannot be removed, without virtually, which needs to be removed only physically by my hand, right? So I need to be developing and putting physical solutions for virtual problems. That is something which is very, very important. Then second is, we are having everything always on. Our router is always on, our Wi-Fi is always on, so our Google Home or our Alexas and the TVs, they are always on. So we should, when we are not using these things, we should shut it down. We should have router downtimes. We should have Google Homes and Alexas of the world and the virtual assistants who are always on should be turned off when they are not in use. Let's say if you're not doing on something on your phone, you should actually turn down your mobile data as well as Wi-Fi, because let's say if somebody has compromised your phone, he's taking out data from your phone constantly. But if you turn down the communication part, that means the Wi-Fi and the mobile data, he is not able to communicate. So in that case, your device becomes little less popular for the criminal versus somebody's device which is compromised, which is always on. So that is the precaution which we can take.
So, but these are just the precautions that one can take, like you said, the physical precautions. So, is there any way in which any person who is not that tech savvy or not a tech expert, so how can they safeguard themselves? Like, are there some settings in the devices or mobile phones that need to be changed?
So what you can do is, in case of, first is if your device is compromised, it will behave strangely. In the middle of the night, it will have some screen getting activated. You can check your data history in terms of how much data is being transferred when you're not doing anything. Let's say if you check your data before sleeping, that X amount of data has been already used. But once you wake up in the morning, again check, because you have not done any activity. If there is a significant amount of data exchange, that shows that your device is compromised. If your battery is getting exhausted very fast, if your device is behaving strangely, it's getting rebooted sometimes without you doing it, all these are the signs that your device might have been compromised. So this is one thing. Second is, whenever you're installing any app on your phone or a computer, it takes permissions. And if you don't give permission, it doesn't work. Many times these apps are taking extra permission, which is not required to do various malicious activities. So what I actually do is I give a permission to the application, and then going to the permission manager, I revoke those permissions. Whenever I have to use an app, it will again ask for the permission. I will give the permission only for that duration and I will revoke it. So if you keep revoking the unnecessary permissions to these apps, you can actually safeguard against most of the crimes.
But so will it not become a very cumbersome process to just revoke the permission every time and give it when we use it? Like at times we have just seconds or minutes. We want to pay at some place, so we just want to scan and pay through it. These tap cards have come, so we even avoid paying through UPI wallets. We just tap and just move on. So in the world where people are moving so fast, like is it really possible for people to just go and revoke the permissions and give it up again when they are using it?
First of all, it is not very difficult to revoke permissions. It's on the fly you can do. Whenever, let's say, if you have revoked permission of a camera to a Paytm or any other virtual payment wallet app, once you use it, it will pop up that saying, I need this permission to work, and you can always say allow for that particular movement. Also, we need to know that security and convenience, they probably are opposite sides of the coin. You want more convenience, your security goes down. If you want more security, your convenience goes down. On top of it, there are instances where, let's say tap card, as you told, right? Tap card can be misused. I can have a POS machine, in a crowded metro. I can bring it near to your wallet to probably capture the signal and process a payment, which you don't want to payment, right? Which you don't want to make. So what we should probably do is we should probably disable. Let's say if we go to our credit card and debit cards and net banking, we can actually disable things. We can say, I want to disable international transactions. I want to disable transactions at a particular location. I want to disable transactions above an amount, and so on. So we need to probably do a lot of planning beforehand, where we configure things, we set limits, so that in case something goes wrong, our loss is minimized and capped.
Right, right, absolutely right. So, but yeah, again, my concern is the same because, sir, I'm about to go back to college in a couple of days, and as I asked my father to get me a card, that I can just tap and pay, because scanning and paying at times requires internet, and in college, internet is at times slow, and the payment cannot be processed and these things. So I got that tap card. So again, the like, so it is this 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 wanting of us to do things so easily is exposing us to such crimes. That's what I think.
So
But again, so
see,
it's our mind also that does not agree to just spend so much time in doing this kind of
so,
thing.
so there are ways. You see, like my tap card, I put into a special case so that it can't be misused. So if card is in my possession, it's there in the special case where the signal is not going out. That is also one more safeguard. Now I can use my card very safely. I have removed the CVV number at the back of my cards, because that if somebody knows and captures using mobile camera front and back of the card, or video records it, it can misuse my card. That also is not there. So you can always take precautions while making sure the convenience and the ease of doing the stuff remains with you.
Right. So also you asked about just scanning someone's card at a public place without them knowing it. So also this question came to my mind: how easy is it for these criminals to transfer data from public places, like we plug our phones for charging at airports or bus stations, or
Oh,
at waiting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very good question. Again, this is known as juicejacking. So if you connect your phone to any of the public chargers at a public place, they can do various wrong things, various malicious things. First is they can transfer a ransomware. They can probably bypass the authentication and extract your data. They can put some viruses and do all sort of malicious things. Solution to this actually is multifold. First is charge your phone before going out. May not be always possible, but what I do is I do not charge my phone to these cables. I charge my power bank first, because power bank is a dumb device. It cannot get any viruses. And then this power bank I use to charge my phone. Let's assume you are not having a power bank. At least you switch off your phone and then charge, so that when the phone is off, in most cases nothing can be done, because right now it is not responding. It's not able to connect. It's only the power which is getting transferred. So we need to be, we need not to connect to the phone cables when it is on, because then that is opening risk. That is where they can exploit and install viruses and ransomwares and exploit our data.
Right. So this was something that everyone. This is something that everyone should know, in my opinion. Like we all get exposed in this manner at public places.
Yeah, so there are solutions. There are solutions which we can incorporate in our digital daily life by changing our habits, and by knowing what are the risks. Accordingly, if we just change slightly, like as I told, instead of charging phone in switch on mode, you charge it with the switch off mode, so that chances of risk are minimized, like 99%. So there are various such small interventions which we can do to safeguard and avoid a lot of cyber crimes.
Also, sir, this one thing came to my mind just now. So at times we see that the apps in our phone, they are automatically updated. Like once we open it, it is something else, and the other time we open it, it gets updated. So can we also put a stop to this? Can we, or is
So it
it?
depends.
Is it
So what you can do is you can have the apps to be updated only on the secure environment. Let's say what I have done is, only when it is connected to Wi-Fi at my home, my app should be updated, because app should actually be updated, right? So, but that it should not be updated in any place with any link or any settings. It should only be done in the secure environment. That is something which we should remain conscious of.
But sir, if the provider knows that the app has to be updated, then that provider must be getting all other informations also, like what is in our
See,
phone. And
so that's what I'm saying. See, once you have an app, you need to give out some rights to the app to operate, and they are the companies who are providing these apps and the services will definitely get some part of data for sometimes genuinely required for giving you the service, but you never know what can be used and misused, right? So the idea is, make sure that you give minimum permissions, and you give permissions keeping in mind the application of that particular thing, right? If an app like a wallet, digital wallet app has to have access to camera, but you can always stop access to the gallery because you don't want to use stored QR code to make a payment. That's fine. So you need to be judicious. You need to mind while selecting the permissions.
Right. So moving further, these days these smart cars have been around, and these cars, they are always connected to some GPS system, and we are in a habit of connecting the cars with our phone via Bluetooth using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on the cars. So how safe is it for our phone, like our phone and our data, to be restricted to ourselves? And how do we know that the car is not sending the same data to the manufacturer?
See, pretty safe. When you're connecting your cars and the phones, your data is there in the car. You need to worry about can anybody extract data from the car. Probably manufacturer is not going to do it. Your car does not go to manufacturer that often also, right? But then let's say if somebody gets access to your car's infotainment system, then that can be used to extract data, and it contains a lot of data all about your calls and music and various other apps which you could sync with Android and iOS applications for the car. So it's actually not a threat to the personal privacy, but let's say it is useful also. Let's say, for example, a criminal investigation is going on, and we get criminal's car. We can actually extract to whom he has spoken and get a lot of evidences against him through the car infotainment system. Right. So cars are basically otherwise not sending data out in most cases. But then we need to also worry about that, cars, the high-end cars are recording a lot more information than we think. For example, any car which is more than 20 lakhs, like say Land Rover, Jaguar, and others, they also record what is the weight of the person who sat in the car, how much the car seat was reclined, which door was open at what point of time, and so on. All this data can actually lead to privacy infringement at times. So I know a case where, one person left home and went to the office, and later on her wife could extract data from his car that, the car went to a particular GPS location where his suspected girlfriend lives, and the 45 kg person sat in the car and the seat was reclined 45-degree, and so on. All these details pointed to that particular suspected girlfriend of the person, and this data was used to seek divorce in a court of law. And that's where this private data collected by the car was used in a particular scenario. So there are a lot of things which can happen. But connected to this is like, let's say you have your Google phone, right? You have a phone where you have logged into your Gmail. And let's say if you're also using Google Maps on the phone, there is a peculiar vulnerability there, which is once you are having Google Maps on, by default, your phones does not get locked. So let's say if you're driving in a car with the Google Map on, and let's say it's a good weather, rainy season, and your window panes are down, let's say if somebody snatches your phone. In this case, your phone is not locked. The person can now change the password of your Gmail, and second factor authentication OTP or a tap will come on the phone, which is with him. Now he can change your phone number. He can change your security question and secondary email ID. It's completely logging you out of your digital identity of that Gmail account. Getting it back is extremely, extremely difficult and next to impossible. How do and what do we do about it? So these kind of scenarios can happen because of sometimes two-factor authentication. Now you cannot go into from a Gmail account from any other computer also, because it requires tap to be done and OTP to come, which is not in your possession. And even if you get new SIM, it will take 24 hours before you can get all these things. By the time phone number has been changed, it does not work anymore. Right? So your digital identity is now stuck with the criminal. And there are instances which has happened. So there are solutions. Solution is there's something known as offline codes, logging using offline codes. If you go to settings of your Google account and download these offline codes are basically 8-digit or 12-digit codes, and you can download 10, 12 of them in single go, and they can be used to log into this account. Even if an attacker has taken over your account, he cannot disable these, right? And we don't do it, right? So this is something which we need to know, that always ensure that you have downloaded offline codes from the settings of your Gmail or a Google account and kept at a secure place. So what I do is I have a printouts of these offline codes lying in my office. So if somebody compromises my phone or email account, I don't have to worry. I'll come back to my office, log into Gmail, and using these codes I can log in. So these kind of things we need to do. Again, a related example would be, let's say if you go to takeout.google.com, So if I ask you what were you doing 1 year back exactly at the same time, probably you can't recall, but Google knows it because your phone was with you. So all your timelines, all your GPS locations where you have visited, all the payments you have made, all the photographs you have clicked, all your Google Drive data, everything is there at takeout.google.com. And once you log in there, you will see, 10, 15 GB of your data, all your search histories. So now let's say if I get accidental access to your account, I can actually know about you. I can profile you. I know what you have done in the last 5, 10 years. And that's really bad. So the solution to that is that go to takeout.google.com yourself, download all this data into your computer in offline manner and delete it from there. So that if somebody gets access to your account, he does not get access to your private data, and keep doing it at regular frequency. Like I do it every 2 months. So worst case scenario, you can get 2 months of my data, not more than that.
Sir, did you really say like 10, 15 GB of data of every single person?
Yes. Every activity you have done on Google is being recorded and it is available in your takeout.google.com account.
Okay. Sir, actually, while you were speaking, these two things came to my mind before we move on to next question. So our organizational email ID, like we are recording here on TLJT Talks. So the email ID of TLJT is logged in the phones of at least 8 to 10 people, like our core team. So are all 8 to 10 of us exposed to some sort of cybercrime? Can someone connect all those phones and get information about all of us at the same time?
See, again, it depends. If I get access to 10, 12 phones, I can extract all the data and I can probably collate it, right? But it will require compromising that many phones. Better is because when you are doing these activities, server is also logging all the data, right? So we can find out which phone has been compromised, using which phone what activity has been done. So all kind of logs are there. We must know that in digital world logs remains, and it is only that if you can parse them, if you can understand them, and then you can make a sense out of it, you can in most cases you can find out who has done what, and that's something which is good for us.
Right. So, right. So the second question was regarding the use of the ATM cards or debit cards or credit cards. So you said that just by knowing the front and back of the card or by taking pictures of it, one can easily get access to it. So here my question is, sir, at many of the public places, everything is under CCTV surveillance, and every time whenever we give our card to someone, so it can be seen easily. So how can we safeguard ourselves with respect to this?
Yeah, so as you rightly said, people have mobile phones and CCTVs, and your front and back of the card can be recorded, videographed. Now, this cannot be misused in India because you require OTP for most of the transactions, but somebody can do an shopping in America or Sweden or UK, because international transaction does not require any password or an OTP in those countries as per their laws. But now the solution is very simple. As I told you, log into your net banking, disable international transaction, put a limit. Then on the back of your card, there is a CVV number, 3-digit CVV number. If you remove that, then doing transaction using card photograph will become next to impossible.
Right. So, sir, before we move on to the next part that is related to Google and other things, so I'd like to talk a bit about social media. Like, how is social media misused? You earlier spoke about it, but we have seen children using social media so much. So how can we safeguard them, and how can we safeguard us, our photos, our privacy, and all these things?
Yeah. So social media is assumed as fun, and it is fun as long as you take precautions. Because if you don't take precaution, it can actually be misused. So as you talked about young kids and children, it is not advisable for young kids to be used for using social media, and that is not required. But what happens is at times they use social media, right? So we need to tell the people who are using social media on accounts that you should not divulge any of the private information related to your age, location, financial status, and anything which is not which could be misused. You should inform parents and teachers and the stakeholders that they need to educate young ones that there could be instances where this all can be misused. Parents should ensure that they should not give the devices to their kids on which there are financial transactions have happened. There are apps which are having financial transactions. So let's say if a kid has to be given a tab or a phone, it has to be the one which does not have any other application other than the application kid has to use for taking classes and so on. That is one. Second, when we talk about social media, we must know that social media records everything. Let's say if you post a photograph, and if I want to type a comment, I wrote the comment but I did not post it, I deleted it. Still, that comment has been recorded by the service provider like Facebook or Twitter, right? So these social media companies are giving data to let's say consulates, because let's say if you apply for a visa, consulate searches for you and finds out about your behavior, about your comments, about photographs which you have posted from social media, and these companies provide access to this data. So at times I know people have been denied visa because they were drinking too much, they were abusing each other, their photos and videos of a party were there on the social media websites, and those were probably not appropriate, and citing those, they have been denied job, they have been denied visas. So whatever we do on social media, everything is recorded, and it can be misused at times.
Right, right, right.